come on, Buddha, you gotta step it up. I mean, Buddha, you really gotta put your foot down. Maybe you should just take this one step at a time.
Hey, bro, that's the same gag as the last chapter review. Come on, come up with something new.
Yeah, you're right. What'd that mouth do?
What?
Before we open this review of chapter 51 of Record of Ragnarok, please do me a favor and leave your own thoughts on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Now, let's get into it. What's up, guys? I got a pencil here, and here we are to review chapter 51 of Record of Ragnarok, which is known as the Cursed Seed in the Pure Soil. And we open up with Buggy Boy, and I ain't gonna lie, my man got drip. But I wonder, like, I know the cinematic reasoning behind why he's sitting like that with just a light upon him, because he's revealed in this chapter to be the one who resurrected Arjun. But in actuality, though, like, is he just like have a chair where he admires his flowers in this one particular vase and there's just a light? Like, I always love that, like, thinking about like the real cinematic reasoning, the real reasoning behind a cinematic shot, because while the shot is cool, I do like how he's in purely darkness. I know he opens up with really any soil would do, and then a light flashes upon him, and then he has this one vase next to him and he starts talking about flowers and soil, and he talks about how any soil would do and blah blah blah. But in actuality, I don't know, this is a really just funny idea to me that my man just has like this solo room that he sits on, and then he like says, "Hey yo, Google, turn on the lights," and the lights turn on. I don't know, that one just really, it tickled me in a certain way. I enjoyed that one. But it's interesting how he sort of like interacts with one of the flowers from it, because the moment he picks up one of the flowers, it instantly dies. Like, the petals all start coming off, and it just leaves a few left, and it leaves a seed, the seed that's revealed in the center. And I think that was like lightweight foreshadowing to what happened, or not what happened, what was revealed in this chapter. But at the same time, I think it's also cool to show how he's like a part of the underworld, and thusly life doesn't really last long in his hands, even if he's not like a god of death himself. So the flower just falls apart, revealing the seed for new life. I think that's very, very cool, and that's just good symbolism. I honestly can't wait to see him fight. If he doesn't get like swapped out for somebody else, I'm intrigued to see how he fights and what he fights with. He's probably fighting Nikola Tesla, considering they're building him up very much so as an inventor, like a creator of something. To be fair, I don't know much about him. I don't know much about the Lord of the Flies anywhere else, because I haven't read much about him. I haven't even read the book called Lord of the Flies, so I got nothing. But if he fights Nikola Tesla, it's going to be an interesting battle. I can tell already. However, we cut away from that, and we go back to the shocking image from the last chapter, where Buddha has been pierced, or his shield has been pierced. Golly, that's a big hole. And we get to see that he did lose his eye. But the thing is, as Hajun reveals, like, that was lucky. and well, not necessarily lucky, that was just pure skill. Hajun even compliments him, like, wow, you really are awesome beyond words. That's wild, bro. You should have a whole hole in your head. And honestly, with how big that like spear was, I am shocked that only the eye came out and not like a chunk of Buddha's head, because I thought at the end of the last chapter that it was like there was a point, and like the point may have just like plopped out Buddha's eye because it like scooped it out and left it lacking, or like popped the eye or something. But no, like, at least in the flashback image, the thing that shows us like what happened to Buddha's eye, the spear was really, really like wide. It was basically as wide as Buddha's head itself. So the fact that it only got his eye really is like impressive. That means that man must have dodged at the moment if he felt contact with his pupil, and it just moved out the way. However, he managed to avoid it, and Hajun praises him. And honestly, I mean, we'll get into Hajun's portrayal later into this chapter review. I'm kind of mixed on it, because I kind of preferred when he was a robot, but we'll get into that more later on. But then we get to see Hajun is still ready. He is still a demon, and we get to see that when he pops out something similar to Misery Cleaver. However, it's like reverse. Instead of his hand or him pulling out a separate weapon that turns into Misery Cleaver, he actually like morphs the end of his arm into a Misery Cleaver that's backwards. Like, it has the axe, and then it has like a pointed tip at the end. So it's like, it's almost like a lance with an axe built in. It's a very interesting design, I'm not gonna lie. And we get to see that Buddha prepares himself by switching out of the shield instantaneously, which is really, really impressive. Actually, no. Let me see, does he switch? No, he switched out of the shield earlier. He switched it back to the staff form. And it does reveal that the forms themselves can take damage, but the original staff seems to have no repercussions of the damage of like the previous shield's damage. Like, how can I verbalize this? The shield took a massive chunk of damage, literally pierced through, but the Sixth Realm staff itself was perfectly fine. There was no lasting repercussions from the massive hole left in it, which is impressive. And he instantly switches it back to the sword, and the sword does manage to block Hajun's attack. And to be fair, Heaven Piercing Drill was legitimately probably Hajun's strongest thing, and he just switched back to a weaker weapon, so I'm not shocked the sword didn't break, but I'm shocked Buddha didn't break, bro. Like, I would have broken. Golly, I would have broken after my eye got popped out. I ain't even gonna lie to you. However, we do get to see that the two are sort of like going equal still. Hajun may or may not be holding back, considering, who knows, he did use his max power, max speed, his max everything last chapter, and now he's just like toying around with Buddha, making him suffer. But we see how Hajun is sort of like this tie between a masochist and a sadist, because like not only was he impressed with Buddha's ability to dodge his attack, but then when Buddha actually manages to do like maybe not lethal damage, but he manages to slit Hajun's throat like right on the Adam's apple, all Hajun does is laugh, and it's kind of ominous, I'm not gonna lie, but it feels very, it's the personality coming out of Hajun is not something I would expect from that body type. Like, he's smiling a lot, he has this loads of high energy, and it's amazing to see the shift, the dynamic shift, because to be fair, when Buddha was fighting Zero, it was very much like this. Buddha, the bigger deity who had like this big old grin on his face the entire time, was essentially toying with his prey, is now being flipped, where the smaller deity, Buddha, is on the back foot in pain, gritting his teeth. Meanwhile, the bigger deity is like laughing and smiling at him. It's very interesting. However, we also do get to see that while Buddha is keeping up to a degree, Hajun definitely has the upper hand, because every time Buddha lands a hit, Hajun gets one. So like Hajun says, suffer it, and slices Buddha's whole arm open. Well, to be fair, he didn't slice it off, but he does leave a cut, and that just shows that Hajun in a way is like toying with Buddha, because while Buddha got like maybe a centimeter deep cut on Hajun, his whole shoulder got torn open in the case of Buddha, and that is crazy. However, we do get to see that Buddha has changed the fighting style to more so like narrow his blind spot down and just focus on dealing with one side. And I think that's good, because it narrows not only it covers his blind spot for one, but two, it narrows the amount of area that Hajun has to swing with. Like, Buddha is now a smaller target to hit. So I think it's very, very smart on Buddha's end. But the crazy thing is, despite the tactical advantage that's presented here, there's like no real relief for Buddha in any way, shape, or form, because Hajun just is screaming about that suffering, and he's just overwhelming Buddha, because he's in a better shape. Obviously, he still has both of his arms, both of his eyes, he's still obviously in peak form, and it looks like even the one cut Buddha got already healed away. But also, Hajun seems to be like sheer raw, I have more power and speed than you, because Buddha goes from being equal with him for a bit to getting pushed on the back foot to instantly getting stabbed again and getting gashed open again. Like, it's crazy how much Hajun is able to do, especially with his body size. Like, we've seen before that big dudes can get it moving in Record of Ragnarok. Like, take a look at Zeus, take a look at Hercules, take a look at all the big dudes, like even Raiden. So it's not shocking that Hajun is moving this way, but like, I don't know, the dynamic shift in this fight is so interesting, because technically I still think Buddha should win automatically, though. I feel like Hajun, especially if what is said about him later on in the chapter is true, I feel like he shouldn't be allowed to fight right now. Like, every single deity and their mama should be like, alright, Buddha, we're gonna give you the technical, bro, because Zero's gone. You weren't even meant to fight Zero, and you still won. That man's been digested. This man's a demon. We're gonna go stop him with you. But no, Hajun's just allowed to fight more. And he's very much on this suffering kick. And honestly, while we're here, while I'm staring at this panel, I'm not gonna lie, as cool as this whole like dynamic flip and how happy he seems with the whole like relationship of the fight now, with Buddha being on the back foot and him being dominant, which is a great reverse on Zero being not dominant in the fight and Buddha being dominant, I still admit I really preferred Hajun last chapter, where he felt very much more like a child with knowledge and power beyond his understanding. Like something that knew it was powerful, respected that it was powerful, and simply wanted to see what that power could do. Because it just felt a lot more like ominous and otherworldly. Like the confusion that Buddha felt and the confusion that everyone felt last chapter when Hajun appeared and like started fighting, I very much prefer that kind of feeling rather than this just suffer. And like, the mangaka does a great job of making it look ominous, because once again, this is a gigantic beast monster thing with two horns growing out of its head, bloody weapon, and an oddly mutated arm and stuff like that. Like, Hajun is still intimidating, but in terms of his sheer presence, I feel like it almost lost a level due to not just the mystery being revealed, obviously, but also just his new personality. It feels a lot less, it doesn't feel as ominous, which is something I very much preferred. But who knows? That I want to know what you guys think about that too. Like, in the comment section, do you prefer like the original Hajun, who was much more robotic and almost like doing this out of reflex and instinct, or do you prefer this one who seems actively interested in the suffering of others? Please let me know in the comment section down below. However, we get to see that Hades, once again, our boy, is like, oh, Hajun, that's not the only part of his legend. Wouldn't you know, the man destroyed half the underworld. And like, I feel like that's a very important part that should be kept in the legend. Like, is that nothing? Like, why is that not page 0.1? Like, watch out for the demon Hajun, who was born when light and darkness cross. Also, he destroyed half of the underworld. Like, Hades references this event like a myth, but I'm pretty sure if half of Helheim, which includes all the different religions, all the different mythologies as implied by the series, considering Hades essentially rules over it all, according to Record of Ragnarok, I feel like this would be like historical data, something that would have had to have been written down and make sure that it never happens again. Because I don't know who the leader of the underworld was before Hades, because that's implied that Hades, he himself never even witnessed Hajun, he just came after the fact. But this isn't written anywhere. No one note that down. Like, well, apparently our buggy boy went and found remains of Hajun and made this weird sort of like seed that could revive him. So he managed to do that. So obviously people knew he existed. This was a canon thing that happened, but no one wrote it down. Now I know, like, I don't know, but seriously, I feel like that's a thing that has to be like a part of history. Half the underworld was destroyed. A multi-mythological underworld, half of it was wiped out, and now we just let that fade away. Like, how many people died? Like, there was no record of that. He just appeared one night, disappeared the next morning, and y'all were like, well, that was a crazy night last night. I had too much pomegranate juice. Like, is that really what happened? I don't know. That throws me off. However, we do get to see that Hajun somehow managed to disappear, and I'm assuming that's because Hajun is like a host-based creature, almost like Venom, where he can't operate without a host, except unlike Venom, rather than the Venom symbiote like boosting the attributes of the resident deity that's inside of it, or the resident being that sits inside of, as Venom does, like it boosts all the abilities and provides a power-up. Hajun may also provide a power-up, but like at the cost of the user's life. Like, and that's why he only lasted one night, disappeared, because he popped out, went crazy, used up all his energy, used up all the life energy of his host, and died. And thus the remains of him was probably like an explosion or a counter or like a reaction to the end of his existence. And that's how the buggy boy managed to go and find him, because he says there was remains, and like we see the boy like looking through a crater and finding the remains, and like he has them in these tubes, and he creates this little evil seed that has the two horns. And it's interesting to see that he managed to do that. Like, what? And I wonder where the original Hajun came from, because obviously this one isn't the original. It just happens to be something that pops up. I initially thought Zero was just like Hajun maybe sealed away, but no, it seems Zero was just completely unrelated, and thusly Hajun just managed to reincarnate through him. However, the original Hajun, but then again, Hades doesn't know. Hades is just, at least according to himself, Hades doesn't know. Hades doesn't seem to have any clear sight of Hajun, so maybe the original Hajun looked different, because the most we get is like this weird gloopy image of the supposed original Hajun like screaming in his death, or maybe not in his death, as he destroyed everything. So it's weird to see. I'm wondering what he means. And then we get to see that the buggy boy went to Zero, who, I'm not sure if this is a translation thing, because honestly I feel like I can tell this is a fan translation. So many things seemed weird in this chapter, at least in the English text, but I don't know, I'm just gonna roll with it. Zero's real name is apparently Zero Fortune, which is kind of sad. But other than that, we get to see Zero apparently just rolled over one day Buggy Boy came by, dropped off the seed into the pure soil, and it turned into horns. Did Zero never, I mean, maybe this is Zero's like fresh birth or something, but he's known as one of the most kind gods, so I'm assuming he's been around for a minute. Did man just wake up with horns one day and be like, wow, puberty does come in mysterious ways? Like, what happened there? I don't know. That seemed kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie. Like, how did he just not notice? He went from horns, no horns to horns, and just didn't question anything. But I guess he was naive. He was shown to be naive. So I'm not mad at him for not questioning it. But man, I don't know. That just seems strange. However, he does get that, and we get to see that they know who it is. It was the Buggy Boy, the Lord of the Flies, and he's just watching the tournament, very intrigued. He's like, alright, so that's what happens when the soil is pure. And I wonder, this must be, he had to create the original, right? Like, that's the only way he knew when Hajun was gonna die, knew what to go collect from the remains of it, and managed to make a new one. Like, is he just popping out Hajuns? Because this seems too specific. Like, he said, he's not like, wow, the experiment actually worked. He goes like, legitimately, so this is what happens when the soil is pure. As in, he's done it with non-pure soil before, and he sees the previous result. So maybe the impure god, the Lord of the Flies, planted it into the last time, died out because it simply couldn't maintain all the negative energy and like almost collapsed it on itself, like a supermassive black hole will at the end of its death or at the end of its life, and it'll just die by whoop. Or maybe like how a star just whoop under its own mass and destroys itself. Or maybe, I don't know, I feel like it has to be that. And maybe he's talking about this is what happens when the soil is pure, because Hajun seems much more stable. Because once again, I know we're going off like a shady image that Hades doesn't really know about, but the Hajun that we see in this flashback that apparently destroyed half the underworld was like goopy. He was falling apart. I'm not sure if that's his death or that's how he just constantly appeared as, but regardless, it's very interesting. It seems like the Buggy Man knows much more than what he's implying, or what not really implying. He's not talking to anybody, he's talking to himself, but he knows more about what's going on than he appears to, and he already appears to know a lot. And then we get to see Hajun and Buddha are still fighting, and Buddha like almost does something. Like, he flexes his bicep, not his bicep, his forearm to super huge size. You see the massive vein, and he swings and he misses, and Buddha just instantly gets his foot sliced open. Like, golly. Like, once again, Hajun, bro, there ain't no way. Homeboy did a whole split. Like, the flexibility of this man, the speed of this man, this dude's like 725 or something, and he's this flexible and mobile. It's kind of crazy. And once again, he just says suffer. And it's amazing to see how Buddha, like, despite the legitimate pain he's in, sandal split, arm bleeding, side gashed open, missing a whole eye, he is still fighting. Like, the man is still standing, which is much more than I feel like a lot of other people would be able to do. And we get to see that humanity is once again despairing, obviously, because, you know, their big trump card, a whole deity, well, he's getting washed right now. And we get to see that the gods have, like, flipped their script. Now that Hajun, even though they have no idea what Hajun is, where Hajun came from, and if Hajun is even Zero anymore, they're just cheering him on because, you know, he's beating Buddha. Yeah, yo, what if, like, I know it's probably not running through any of their heads, but imagine if after Hajun, like, finished Buddha, like, say Hajun finished Buddha this chapter, he just turned to the rest of the gods and was like, you're trying to kill a whole bunch of humans? I gotta give you divine punishment, bro. And then he just starts attacking them. Like, y'all don't know what Hajun came from. If no one knows what he is, why are y'all cheering for this man? This man's a demon. You need to stop him. However, we get to see that Buddha, despite all the pain he's in, is still willing to, like, appeal to the humanity of the deity that is before him. Like, he calls out to Zero. Oh, Zero Fuku. Was that meant to be Zero Fortune? Is that what Zero Fuku translates out to? I have no idea, but I just thought about that. Regardless of that, we get to see that Hajun notes that he's been fully digested. Like, Zero isn't there anymore. He even, like, pats his stomach and everything. And it's interesting that he words it that way, because once again, it goes back into the fuel aspect that I thought of earlier, where Hajun is a being that's inherently unstable and needs to have some sort of fuel to incarnate, and after he runs out of the fuel of said host, or said, like, soil, I suppose, going with this chapter's usage of the word, he sort of just dies. And I wonder how long Zero is going to last. And I wonder if the stability of Hajun right now, even though he's obviously constantly shape-shifting, has this weird, like, almost incomplete sort of design, I wonder if Zero was meant to last longer because he was pure soil, or if Zero's gonna burn up faster because he's pure soil, and like the nature of a great destroyer and a great being of fortune like simply isn't meant to coexist. And the interesting thing to note that I just noticed now is that all of Hajun's nails are black except for the pointer finger. That's still white. I wonder if that's a extra detail that I'm supposed to notice, or it's just one design detail. Very, very interesting to note. However, we get to see that Hajun is just like mocking Zero 100%, and Buddha is not standing for it. And we get to see like an emotion out of Buddha that we haven't really gotten for a long time. Well, not a long time, but in terms of modern Buddha, we haven't seen it. We've seen rage and anger from Buddha and annoyance in the past, especially in his backstory when his brother died. However, we haven't seen him scream and be like angry like we do here. And all the people here get shook. Heimdall, the humans, the gods, everyone is like, whoa. And then Buddha locks himself in. He steadies himself after quieting himself. Even Arjun is shaken. Like, that's how you know that something was up with that. Like, everyone knew, whoa, buddy. Well, hold on, Jabal. Don't pull out the 9. Like, legitimately. Because even Arjun goes, like, quiet. He got the ellipses twice, bro. And then we get to see that Buddha is like, yo, you know what? You got me, dog. That's it. You know what? Without hesitation, no mercy, I've decided it. You are not worth sparing. I'm going to kill you. And we get to see this explosion of the Six Realm staff. And the thing is, Buddha apparently normally suppresses his hatred, because this emotion, this version of the staff, he's never seen before. No one's ever seen before. And he's never even imagined it. And it's interesting because I thought Buddha already hated the deities, but I'm supposed like that was never his primary emotion. It was just like a lasting passive part of his character. So it makes sense why he's never summoned it. And this massive, the war scythe of the rough god, Salakayas. Please correct my pronunciation in the comment section down below. I know I messed up somewhere there. However, it's a very interesting design. Also, despite, I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not that educated on Buddhism, so don't be afraid to correct me in the comment section down below, but that very much seems like a Chinese dragon head, not necessarily anything related. Actually, who knows, maybe that is part, but it's a very cool design. I like how the scythe has like these different ridges to it too. It's a very like alive sort of design with the eyes, the mouth, everything, and then you have like the flowing mane into the scythe itself. It's a very cool design, and it's also cool to see that the staff, like, I think that's a thing constant. Yeah, it's constant across all the forms, but still it's cool to see the base staff design popping out at the bottom. And then we get to see Buddha's aura has like entirely shifted to one of like a devouring beast, and even it towers, like the aura that Buddha is projecting towers over even Hajun, and it's blowing back Loki, and even Odin's looking like, whoa, buddy, the crows are losing their mind and stuff like that. And then we get to see that Buddha is apparently ready for the one-shot kill. He is out here. Hades is excited. Zeus is excited. And it's honestly interesting how even Hermes notes that, yo, I ain't gonna lie, bro. This destructive kind of nature, this demon time energy, that's not Buddha's flow. That's not Buddha's swagger. It's kind of catching me off guard. And I agree, Hermes, you spitting right now. And then we get to see that Hajun is actually happy that Buddha's smile is gone, because it implies that he's finally ready to accept all the suffering. And it's and like, I don't know, Hajun's more like a cartoon villain right now. He's like, haha, I'll make sure you and all your trash kind suffer in the most horrific way. And I wonder if when he says your trash kind, does he mean like traitorous deities, or does he mean like humans? I'm not sure, because Buddha like falls in this weird line where he is a deity, but at the same time he is representing humanity. So I'm not sure what he's doing. And we get to see that Hajun is just all about that suffering type beat, and Buddha's ready for it. And we have this amazing panel where the two rush in to clash each other, and then Buddha swings the whole scythe, and then it's blocked instantaneously. Hajun's like, nah, buddy, this is not for you. This is not the day. But then he realizes that the staff actually has like a lot of force behind it. It seems to be coming from the head. The head itself is it's providing propulsion for the rest of the weapon. But however, Hajun, like, once again, using this insane flexibility that this man has, he managed to do a whole backwards, like, he limbos all the way down low to miss the staff, not miss the staff, miss the scythe, make it miss, and then proceeds to lunge in. But Buddha just did that as a bait and proceeds to fire off another shot from the head of the scythe, and it goes into Samsara's karma, eternal. And Hajun like looks concerned for a moment, shrink, and then we get to see Hajun manage to mutate his arm once again into like a much more meaty shield. Like the flakes coming off of his arm, the flakes of flesh, did manage to block it entirely. And then we get to see that Hajun managed to land a piercing, and I mean piercing blow directly into Buddha's abdomen. And honestly, it is graphic. I'm not gonna lie. Like the mangaka really has been stepping up the brutality in these fights. From honestly, now that I think about it, ever since ever since Hercules versus Jack the Ripper, like this manga has been getting a lot more intense in terms of sheer graphic design. And we get to see everyone in shock because Buddha looks like he's actually defeated, like he's taken that loss because he's been stabbed in so many places, he's coughing up blood. And Hajun, once again, snaps right back into the serious tone. Like, answer this. Do you have any last words before you die? And Buddha's like, yo, hold on, buddy. Obviously, you didn't hear me last time, so let me reiterate. I will say it again, one more time. If the gods won't save the humans, then I will. And suddenly, Buddha declares, if any gods dare to oppose me, I will slaughter them myself. I will kill them, okay? But the thing is, it's crazy to see how like wild Buddha is. Like this man really is on the verge of death itself and is ready to keep on fighting for humanity. And we also get to see that his staff is like bending, like the scythe itself has this curve to it. I feel like we're gonna get the final form because we had the sword, we had the scythe, we have the shield, we have is that it? Sword, scythe, shield? No, there's another one. We have the close combat bat. Like I feel like we have 5 already, so there's probably room for one more, if not 2 more, because I can't remember a 5th one. So I'm honestly interested to see what the final form of the staff is. I do think Buddha is still going to win. I feel like he has to win. If we want like a competitive fight between humanity and the gods, Buddha has to win at the same time. And as y'all have mentioned before, like apparently Hajun is the final block, the final barricade for Buddha's true enlightenment. So maybe once he loses the second eye, he'll achieve true enlightenment and then go off and fight at his full power. And I'm honestly super excited. I love this chapter. As much as I did prefer original Hajun, for the Hajun we get in this chapter, I still think he's very, very cool. And honestly, I'm very excited to see how this fight concludes. Because if it doesn't conclude next chapter, it has to conclude the chapter after next. Like, there's no way this fight can go on any longer. Because this has been a minute now. And I think we're starting to get to the point where it is coming towards its end. But that's what I think. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. I give this chapter a meaty, honestly 10 out of 10. Just because of, like, the lore and the different characters we get to see, like seeing the buggy boy go off, seeing more of Hades and his little brother, like all this stuff. There's so much fun in this chapter, and then there's also so much beautiful artwork in this. Yo, I'm making a whole video about Record of Ragnarok art. I'm gonna have to do it. I would go off here, but I feel like I've been recording for 28 minutes already, so I've got to go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.